What an eye-opener. Yeah. Terry, more good news. Talk to us about the freedoms of women, women in parliament, and what's happening in marriages in Iraq.
In the government in Baghdad, I think the parliament is about 275 people, 88 of which are women. Ooh. Now, that's a higher average than we have in the United States or Canada, probably. And they, up in the north, in Kurdistan, they have 3 units in Iraq: the Sunni territory, the Shia territory, and the Kurdish territory in the north. I'm friends with the Prime Minister in the north, and he told me that they are legislating one husband, one wife. This has never, ever happened in the history of Islam in 1400 years. They are also legislating freedom to choose religion in terms of, it is in the Constitution, but they are going to make sure that the judicial people make it happen.
Yeah, and this is a big issue, and this was mentioned as well in the story, and that's hard to translate. You know, in these countries, your religion is on your birth certificate, and you're born into your religion. This idea of choosing and making a decision about what you believe in, that's unheard of, and so I think that's one of the reasons there's this perception that Christianity is a Western religion, because they see this as like, well, no, we are born here. We are born Muslims, and this is who we are. This is on our identity card. So to change that would be considered betrayal of one's own culture. But there's absolutely no cultural component to Christianity.
The problem for our pastors, Majid in Erbil in Kurdistan has been trying for 2 years to change his identity card to Christian, because he is a Christian. And they will not allow it. He has a little boy who's now probably 2 years old, and the child is unidentified, or will not take a Muslim identity card because his father is Christian, and they will not issue him the card. So there's a tremendous difficulty for people who change from the cultural perspectives that they are born with and say, I want to walk a different way. They've got to pay a price for that.
Now, this freedom to choose, is this just in Kurdistan, or is it through all of Iraq?
It is being, Kurdistan has a constitution of its own that is superimposed by the big constitution in Baghdad. But they are putting some of these issues in, and they apply for Kurdistan only, but still.
Does Kurdistan have Sharia law?
Sharia law, I was going to say.
I don't think so. Does it?
Well, they're taking that away, or they're, how do you say, watering it down considerably. Afghanistan, I went to the ambassador, the Afghan ambassador to the United States, and just before the Loya Jirga, we took 16,000 petitions into his office. I dropped them on his desk, requesting that they put the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the Afghan law, in the Loya Jirga, in their constitutional process, which they did. And if you remember, there was a Canadian Afghan who went home about 2 years ago, and there was a huge hue and cry because his daughters were Christian, and the mullahs wanted to kill him, and he was saved by the skin of his teeth. Condoleezza Rice, President Bush, the Pope were all arguing about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that we got deposited in the Constitution. It was something to sit at home and watch this and realize, you know, maybe we did do some good over there.
But how long? Because I think, you know, because over the course of the years on Full Circle, we've talked a lot and highlighted the persecuted church. And I know that, you know, persecution won't go away tomorrow in a place like that. But how do you, I mean, as Denise was saying, I mean, we're dealing with Sharia law, we're dealing with systemic cultural, religious, cultural issues in the country. How long will that take to really change and make those significant changes where you can go from Islam to Christianity on your birth certificate?
I think it's going to be a lot harder in Afghanistan than it's been in Iraq. That's my personal opinion. I've been on the ground in both areas. In Iraq, you have a society built on oil. And there's tremendous wealth in Iraq. Everybody can, you know, live fairly well. The government is rich. In Afghanistan, what do you have? You have heroin. 75% of the gross national product of Afghanistan is heroin. And The people who have the power in Afghanistan are the warlords. And
well, it's also very tribal, and I think that's another issue too,
Sure.
is that you don't have the same tribal society in Iraq that you have in Afghanistan. You also don't have the groundwork in Iraq of, I mean, Saddam Hussein, whatever you want to say about him, he was more secular
he was
Muslim.
secular
So
Muslim.
there, you don't have this institution that is set up in society where, you know, where you do in Afghanistan, where you have that religious framework already laid out.
The Taliban have been some of the most brutal people in the world. I mean, a girl born into Afghan society has no rights at all. As she grows up, her father beats her, her brothers beat her. When she gets married, her husband beats her, her father-in-law beats her if she doesn't press his suit the right way. You're dealing with a backward society, and I'm going to say it again. I think Afghanistan is a lot bigger challenge for us than Iraq was. That's my personal opinion.
Well, you even see it in Egypt. I mean, people think of that as a pretty free society from an Islamic point of view, and yet people there's been several high-profile cases of people trying to change their identity cards and not being able to, and having death threats because they've converted from Islam to Christianity. So it's all through the Islamic world that people are struggling with this whole idea of converting, and which makes your work so dangerous. Like, how do you face that all the time? Because you're facing, I'm sure you must have death threats. You must have situations where you're in danger.
Al-Zarqawi, the head of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, put a hit on my life. We did some television with our church, and there were 4 Arab networks there filming what we did, and our people were praising the Lord and dancing and singing, and you know, this was unheard of in the Middle East, especially on television. And I had to fly out of Baghdad, and the president, Masoud Barzani, phoned me on a Thursday night. I was going to go in his cars. They had 3 bulletproof cars to get me down to Baghdad. But he said, we found out Al-Zarqawi is waiting for you on the road, so you can't go that way. You're going to have to go another way.